Hello, welcome to Tokyo, and as you can see, my pockets are empty, which means I have 24 hours to explore the city and buy an entire everyday carry kit. All I have is my wallet. Let's go. Kicking things off and walking through the iconic Shibuya crossing, then heading up to the second floor of the Furukas building. As almost an institution for the cool kids in the know, had to hit up Beans, the infamous curator that started as a select shop back in the 1970s, but then a decade ago started also releasing their own products. Browsing around, I've typically only bought small gifts for other people here, but this time around for this challenge, this red leather bifold really attracted me because of just how freaking soft the leather was. Beyond that, Japan being the land of the rising sun, I thought red was a good place to start. So grabbing it and a few small gifts to check out, they grabbed a new one from the back, and after inspection, it was time to pay, and now with it in hand, let's take a look. As a folding card holder, this one's as basic and no nonsense as it gets, but in hand, I just can't overstate the feel of the leather itself. Collaborating with the 90-year-old Tochigi leather tannery using their 20-step tanning process, it's no surprise at how pliable and lusciously soft the hand feel is. With the Tochigi Veg Tan emblem alongside the Beans Japan wordmark subtly debossed on the front, this is a subtle nod to this beautiful meeting point of Beans' decades of tastemaking and Tochigi's zero corner cutting tradition. But just steps from the Shibuya Furukas building is one of the many big camera megastores peppered throughout the city. An everything tech store that goes so far beyond just cameras as the name suggests. And I decided to try and get this kid's flashlight out of the way. Are you ready for this? Japan may lead in a lot of areas of tech, but their domestic flashlight industry is absolutely decades behind. I decided to just grab this tiny 15 lumen guy. Gentos is one of, if not the most well-known domestic flashlight brands, and as underwhelming as it is, I chose this model GK0015 because I thought it at least looked quite nice, and is easily pocketable with the mini carabiner, but AAA battery power only. Twist to turn on and off, with its only output at 15 lumens, which, to be clear, is generally enough for most people's potential flashlight needs. You know, like finding a keyhole at night. But I mean, if you want something that's actually awesome, the Olay iMini 2, which has a keyring hole that is its USB recharger and blasts 50 lumens and doesn't even need a power button because it turns on when it gets yanked out of its very strong magnetic base, and shuts off when it snaps back in, is on a whole other planet in terms of build, user experience, and of course, output. And like everything we'll explore in this video, you can find a link down in the description below. Point is, if you are an everyday carry enthusiast, don't get your hopes up with your flashlight options in all of Japan. But with the flashlight in our kit complete and seeing as how we're in Shibuya, I decided to go to one of Loft's biggest locations here. And for those not in the know, Loft is one of Japan's large format everything stores. Instead of speedrunning all 6 floors, as you can see from the floor guide, of greatest interest to me for this EDC challenge are the 5th floor and basement level. It's always astonishing heading to the 5th floor as a bag lover myself. The sheer selection is absurd and the representation of brands is intense from both domestic companies and international brands. However, although many bags caught my interest, nothing screamed at me this time around. But the basement is 100% stationary, and although I typically prefer hitting up stationary-only specialty shops in Tokyo, something caught my eye. And finding an employee to open it for me to check out, it was an immediate non-decision. The employee gave me a claim tag so I could continue browsing, and she brought the pen to checkout. And after looking at a few other things, I brought the claim tag to the counter, and now that I've paid for it, let's take a look. This is called the Timeline by one of, if not the most ubiquitous and well-respected Japanese pen companies, Pilot. Unboxing, it comes in this cylinder, and pulling the long end off, we can see it standing proud. But the instant decision to buy came in 2 parts. One, the red grip, when gazed at up close, is done with this absolutely gorgeous pearlescent marbled effect. And the tone of the red itself complements the debossed brand stamps of that wallet. 2 is a unique deployment mechanism. A 2-stage twist to engage double knock first telescopes the nose cone out, with a continued twist to push the nib to writing position. Again, surprised I bought the pen from Loft and not a specialty stationery shop, but absolutely zero regrets. I really love these everything stores like Loft, so I decided, what the heck, may as well walk the 3 minutes over to Han's Shibuya. Yet another gigantic everything store, and I mean, just look at this very cute floor guide. You can see just how expansive this place is. And when I say everything store, I really mean everything store. But level 1C is my personal favorite. As someone who's really found utility this half-year business trip with externally anchored mini pouches, I found this one by an exclusively made in Japan brand called Agility Japan. You know I couldn't resist something OD green in this kit, so I grabbed this one and headed to checkout counter to pay. And with product and receipt in hand, let's take a quick look. This slim piece is made of a crinkle nylon blend that, like the Beans, while it has an excellent hand feel, albeit very different. On the surface it looks very bare bones, but the usefulness, especially for travel in Tokyo, is awesome. The open sleeve can hold my Suica transit card so I can remove the step of going into my pocket and grabbing my wallet and then the card when I'm commuting. And even when upside down, this integrated keyring on a fixed leash makes it virtually impossible for that transit card to accidentally slip out, and yet there's enough slack in this front sleeve to also store an Airbnb key alongside that transit card if I wanted to. And with that give means that despite its very slim profile, the main zipper compartment can even store bulky things like my AirPods Pros without making it a pain to remove that transit card for frequent use. That's what I meant. This pouch looks bare bones, but it's so damn thoughtfully designed with a real human user experience in mind. Clearly I've already left Tokyo, and few things are better than when the client side pays for business class tickets. However, the video you're watching right now, I'm blazing through everything in the interest of time. And if you want to hear some of my more detailed thoughts of all the products from the video, I've uploaded a free one on my Patreon, so no paywall, a free video, and you can find that at patreon.com/Maurice Moves. But for now, let's go back to Tokyo. With great progress made already, it was time to take the peaceful 20-minute walk through my favorite street. Not just in Tokyo, but in the entire world. I featured Cat Street, connecting Shibuya through to Harajuku in several of my previous videos, so to respect your time and to keep the challenge on track, I blazed through all the incredible shopping and sites. Through to the Harajuku side to visit my absolute favorite streetwear microbrand called Kune. Down the steps, you get to see in the cage just how weird things are about to get. But my favorite entrance to any retail shop on earth begins with a grass walkway through a dark tunnel illuminated only by Kune's brand mark against the back wall. Entering, I refused to let myself get distracted by their main offering, unique streetwear, and went straight for the accessories. Quality collab leather wallets, fun and funny bags, but what I was after were these. The key solution for our Tokyo EDC challenge. The two brown offerings were the only colorways that interested me, and bringing them both up to the counter, I asked the shopkeeper to decide for me, and her decision was so fast, so who am I to argue? Broke out the wallet, and it was happily back down that dark grass walkway corridor and onto this desk to take a closer look. Also made in Japan, this key charm features this brown leather outer with their bunny brand mark in white painted steel, as well as lovely aged brass hardware, which means clipping it to keys makes the keys easy to grab, but of course, with the zipper means that there's a compact place to store some coins, especially useful since Japan can still be quite cash heavy. So I was so happy to finally get one of these coin pouch keychains from my favorite streetwear microbrand on earth. And I gotta say, my hands were getting pretty full, so it was time to find a sling bag for our loadout. And you may remember that navigating the bag-centric floors in both Loft and Shibuya hands, nothing really spoke to me. But then I remembered, I'm in Japan. I gotta revisit a bag brand I've wanted for, I kid you not, nearly 20 years, but never pulled the trigger because it's, to me, very expensive. But for this video, I said screw it. This is finally the year. Still in Shibuya, welcome to one of the many Porter by Yoshida shops found all over Japan. Although they've got leather and canvas offerings, what I've always wanted is their Tanker Series bags. You see, the Tanker Series features a proprietary triple-layer fabric that makes the product line ridiculously lightweight while maintaining tremendous protection and durability, all while having the most insanely silky texture. It's incredible, and these made-in-Japan pieces are just so nice. And what I loved about the retail experience is that they had every device-size mock-up in an acrylic board. So even though I didn't bring it with me, I could validate that my 14-inch MacBook Pro would indeed fit. Regardless, I made my decision and definitely broke out the passport to take advantage of duty-free shopping. It's got two main zipper compartments where, again, as you saw, my 14-inch MacBook Pro slides easily into the large main one. Then, in the zipper compartment closer to the front is this accessory and EDC hub with some organization pockets and sleeves. The very front offers these two generous button and Velcro pockets for rapid access featuring rain guard flaps for protection, while the rear has my must-have for a travel sling, a dedicated pocket against the back for my most important items like my passport, slightly recessed so it's hidden from view and right up against my body for a tiny little bit of added peace of mind. And despite the price, I've wanted one for so long, and as a bag nut, I'm very happy I waited because the size, form factor, and storage solutions of this one, what they call the sling bag with Zip XL, is the right one for me. And almost losing track of time with that shock to the wallet, I suddenly remembered I had a scheduled coffee meetup and rushed to take the Yamanote line a couple of stops up, and so I'm walking here in the Shinjuku area, and currently Hannah is
right here. Hello.
And as we hit up Blue Bottle Coffee in Shinjuku for a chat, some longtime viewers have been so kind saying that my Tokyo travel videos have been tremendously helpful. But if you want real Japan travel value, currently Hannah's channel will answer every Japan travel question you've ever had and so much more. But with coffee and chat done, and having walked a ton, I was exhausted. So decided to call it a day, commute back to my hotel in the Roppongi neighborhood, do some client meeting prep at a coffee shop, and relax the rest of the night so I could be fully rested because welcome to day 2. Just afternoon, and here I am in the Ginza neighborhood, the high-end boutique retail area with so many flagship stores in Japan. But stop number 1 is for the stationery lovers. This is Itoya Ginza, a freaking 12-story stationery shop that sells everything from everywhere. I mean, just look at this place. Check this out. Check this out. What is this? If you even remotely like stationery and make your way to Tokyo, this place should probably be stop number 1 for you. And longtime viewers know that I've been using this Traveler's Company notebook for almost a full decade, but for the purpose of this video, I was determined to try something new, and after pursuing Itoya's notebook floor, I found this wall. And what I was first drawn to as someone who serves clients by delivering on projects was this, a pack on their huge selection of refill inserts called Project Manager. These are by a brand called Plotter. I chose a leather notebook cover, grabbed a bunch of their dot grid refills and a couple of those PM refills, and went to pay. Like the Porter bag, very expensive, so we need to take a closer look. I went with this particular outer cover called the Pueblo and went with their smallest size that they call Mini 5. As you can see, pitting against my 10-year-old Traveler's notebooks, it's even smaller than the passport size TN. This cover is absolutely stunning. A brass spine and a brushed finish to resist scratches with the Plotter wordmark etched up top, uses full grain Italian veg tan leather in this lovely green that's buffed for this outstanding surface texture. The refills use tremendously high quality Japanese fountain pen friendly paper, while the PM inserts are individual project cards which unfold to reveal a Gantt chart and a to-do list on the other side. Freaking awesome. I mean, I'm still a Traveler's Company guy. After all, after a decade, I'm so used to them. But there's no denying that the Plotter system is a significant bump up on material selection and is absolutely stunning. But look, just steps from Itoya is one of the most difficult things to find for EDC in Japan. Pocket knives. But I found this shop called Kikufuji. I mean, looking around the luxury branded skyscrapers of Ginza to find a tiny storefront nested amongst huge flagships. It's clear this place has been around for a long time, and asking the owner, this store has been here since 1951. And although, like most knife shops in Tokyo, their main focus is on kitchen knives, this wall over here, they've got pocket knife offerings. Again, such a rare thing to see in Tokyo, but with both the red theme we started all the way back in the beginning, and with everything so far being from a homegrown Japanese brand, I decided to grab a pocket knife from a company I've never owned, a Japanese company called M-Kusta. Look at this thing. How Japanese is that, with these rich red scales and a bamboo stalk design? What I was most happily surprised by were 1, M-Kusta knives are still made in Seiki, Japan, the OG knife-making city in Gifu Prefecture, with an 800-year history of being known as the City of Blades. We're talking samurai heritage here. And 2, they used a great blade steel for the models I looked at with VG10, a Japanese blade steel that's got great edge retention, toughness, and corrosion resistance. Either way, with Japan being such a difficult place to even see pocket knives, I'm very happy with this find. With the added bonus that it goes well with some of the red pieces we already picked out for this particular kit, and hey, checking out, it was also a nice touch that they wrapped it in the shop's own branded wrapping paper. But with less than an hour before the clock on this 24-hour challenge expires, it's finally time for the last component of our kit, the wristwatch. And you might be thinking, we're in Ginza, and we're in Japan, so the obvious choice might be to hit up the iconic Seiko house, but instead, we have to go behind it, down an alley, to still buy a Seiko watch. But a Seiko that's not even available at Seiko House. And so turning the corner and walking a few steps, we are at the entrance of Yamano Music, a 7-story musical instrument store with an entire floor for keys, then down to brass and woodwinds, then down to drums and their famous guitar garden. But we gotta head down since the 3rd floor is why I'm here. Past the stringed classical instruments, then through the extensive sheet music section, and ta-da! The Yamano Music Store exclusive JDM Seiko metronome watch. Truth be told, with my sister being the real musician in the family, I'm giving this to her. But after the employee demoed it for me, I chose a colorway that I thought would work best for my sister. Unboxing, we've got Seiko's standard very underwhelming packaging, but taking a look at this watch, the core complication beyond the time is why we're here, and with the nice contrast of the gold against the black dial, beyond the clock are the perimeter markings with all the various BPMs that musicians know in their Italian sheet music counterpart nomenclatures. From the time screen, pressing the mode button, the hands do a little dance, then the hour hand points to the last tempo you use with its clear red pointer, and the minute hand pendulums back and forth to help you keep time. Top button to speed up, as you let that red pointer guide you to your practice speed, and the bottom button moves the needle to slower tempos. A press of the top left button lets us toggle the audible cue on and off. I mean, a totally useless piece for non-musicians, but a surprisingly real value functional item for those who are. As a quartz watch, it wasn't going to be anywhere near as expensive as a mechanical piece. And with the decision of the black and gold made, it was time to pay, and after payment, our 24-hour timer was just about done. And before we take a full look and price out the entire kit, let's talk about the first lesson from an EDC-specific perspective. When it comes to EDC specifically, especially pocket knives and flashlights, Tokyo and in fact all of Japan is sorely lacking. But literally every other category of EDC items, it's really tough to beat this city. And going back to the full kit, putting it all together, without the porter bag and the wristwatch, we are at about 62,000 yen, roughly 390 USD. But add the watch in and we are up to 88,000 yen. And of course, with the very expensive Porter bag added in, we've got the full all-in price of 150,000 yen. But I don't think that Porter bag is something most folks would be interested in. However, the wild thing is, looking at the custom Google map of all the locations I hit, which, by the way, you can find that custom map linked down in the description, with just 24 hours, I really only hit the most over-the-top touristy areas, Shibuya and Ginza. Didn't hit up Ueno, didn't hit up Akihabara, nor any of the other countless neighborhoods, all of which have just as good, if not even better, shopping for some specific categories. And especially with the bag, this was tremendously expensive. However, if you want to see the opposite, 24 hours on the tiniest budget in Tokyo, including hotel, you will definitely want to watch this video right up here. If, however, you want to see what to me is the best city for EDC shopping on earth, this video down here is the one for you. I'll leave both on screen for a few seconds so you can choose which one to watch next, but while you're deciding, if you got value, consider subscribing and hitting that bell so you'll be notified the moment new videos just like this one drop.